Yamabushi refers to practitioners of Japan's mountain religion, Shugendo. The founder is said to have been an en-no-gyoya, and through his training in the mountains, he acquired extraordinary spiritual power. He is believed to have been able to subdue the two Oni Zenki and Goki. They originally lived in the Ikoma Mountains and caused misfortune to people. En-no-gyoya captured them using Fudo Mu's secret techniques. These two Oni are a couple, by the way. They kept the youngest of their 5 children in an iron cauldron for a while to atone for the sorrow of the parents whose children had been killed by them. The two repented and began to follow en-no-gyoya. Those who believe in en-no-gyoya and practice rigorous training in the mountains to acquire spiritual power are called Yamabushi. The training methods of Yamabushi vary depending on the region, and the details are not made public, but most involve being beaten by waterfalls, walking through fire, and chanting Nembutsu in front of blazing flames. Ominesen in Nara, Hikosen in Fukuoka and Uita, Hagurasen in Yamagata. They are considered one of the 3 sacred mountains for Yamabushi. Yamabushi wear unique equipment. These are called the 16 tools of Shugen, and each symbolize the world of Fuji, the 10 worlds, Fudo Mu, and the mother's womb. It is believed that by wearing these during their religious practice, Shugenja can acquire these powers. A shakuyo is a wisdom staff that guides people to enlightenment. The metallic sound also helps the Yamabushi avoid beasts, such as bears. It represents the crown of 5 wisdoms of Da Inichi Nire, and has 12 folds. The ropes used in Shugendo's training at Irami. A tool used in mountain training when climbing rocky areas or in times of danger. It acts like a climbing rope. This is the sermon of Shakyamuni Tathagata, and those who hear this sound will eliminate earthly desires and attain enlightenment. The sound of the hora, also known as the lion's roar, is the voice of the king of beasts and has the power to subjugate all animals. So it can be used as a sermon from the Buddha to avoid bears and wild boars during training. Uegesa is a type of religious sash exclusively used in Shugendo. The 6 pom-poms represent the 6 virtues needed to achieve enlightenment in Buddhism. Irutakanenju are prayer beads. Each bead represents earthly desires, and in Shugendo, it is believed to have the power to exorcise demons when needed vigorously. Equipment used to protect the feet. There are also hisiki, which are made of rabbit, raccoon dog, deer, bear, etc., for tied around the waist to protect the buttocks, oi, which is used to carry ritual implements, and swords called gomagatana, but these are omitted here. Similarly, much of their equipment has deep religious meaning, although I will not go into detail here. In the past, most of the mountains that were the subject of mountain worship were far removed from the daily lives of ordinary people, and even if individuals wanted to go into the mountains and worship, at a time when science was still underdeveloped, it was difficult to find out what the specifics were. It was a different world where wild beasts and monsters existed. Yamabushi lived in the other world of the mountains, absorbed the spiritual power of the mountains into their bodies, raised themselves as people who connected the other world and the physical world, and were believed to be able to bestow that spiritual power on people. Many of you may have seen this in movies, manga, games, etc., Kujikiri, which is said to have been performed by ninja-san samurai before battle. But its roots is said to be a spell used by mountain priests when they go into the mountains to practice. It is an etiquette to pray for disaster prevention, victory in battle, etc., using 9 kinds of marks, and is expressed as Kujikiri.
Rin,
Ryo, To,
Sha,
Kai,
Jin,
Retsu,
Zai.
Zen.
It is said that if you show these signs, you can receive the blessings of Marishitin. Yamabushi called Sendachi systematically led cow prayer circles selected to represent villages across the country on pilgrimages as bodyguards from monsters and beasts that may lurk in forest mountains. This group was called Ko. Shugendo, another name for Yamabushi, work a normal job on days when they are not training in the mountains. Therefore, it is not necessary to become a priest or to shave one's head. In modern times, most Yamabushi are office workers or self-employed. Yamabushi are said to be half monk, half secular, because they must contribute to society while moving back and forth between the mountains, the world of gods and Buddha, and the village's human society. It was believed that Yamabushi were able to use a variety of magical techniques through their training in the mountains. One of them is the technique of Kujikiri bamboo tube fox. It looks like a small creature that can fit into a bamboo tube, and is usually only visible to its user. The user was said to be able to use the power of the Kujikiri to divine the past and predict the future of others, as well as use spells to bring disaster on others. Kujikiri's true identity is said to be the lesser weasel. It is said that the acquisition of Kujikiri's messenger law must be given to Yamabushi by the mountain, after he completes his studies at a sacred mountain, and when he obtains the official rank of Yamabushi at Mt. Kinpisen, Omini, etc. It is also said that, when their master Yamabushi dies, they come to live in Oji village, the territory of the Fox's boss in the Kanto region, and it is said that such Kujikiri do not possess humans because they have no servants. Long ago, in Japan, people who were easily angry or restless were thought to have been subjected to the aforementioned Kujikiri spell or possessed by a fox. It is said that at times like these, people rely on Yamabushi who had special spiritual powers. Yamabushi performed a ritual to exorcise foxes and Kujikiri using the skull of their natural enemy, the wolf. In order to break their curse, Yamabushi is holed up in the mountains and continues to do wild things, but he has to undergo the most difficult training called Umain Senichike Hoju. Those who accomplish this feat are called Daijari, and are said to be the ones who have accumulated the highest virtues among Yamabushi and have acquired spiritual power. It is a training period of 4 months a year, May 3rd to September 3rd, in which the monks walk for 1,000 days on a steep mountain path at an altitude of 1,719 meters and a round trip of 48 kilometers per day. They leave the temple at midnight, enter the mountain with lanterns and walking sticks, walk along a non-traditional path to the summit, and descend the mountain in 16 hours. Repeat this every day, regardless of the weather or your physical condition. It is said that it takes about 7 years to complete the training, and there is a rule that if you give up on the training midway through, you must perform harakiri with the short sword you are holding. After completing the final journey and descending from the mountain, one becomes an ascetic who is highly virtuous and has cultivated spiritual power with the title of Daijari. In Shugendo, which has a history of over 1,000 years, there are only a few people who have achieved this training. Emperor Meiji ascended the throne, and the new government aimed to establish a new national system centered on the emperor, changing the domains to prefectures and Edo to Tokyo, and aiming for modernization, ending the era of the samurai. In Japan, there was a trend to abolish the long-standing custom of syncretizing Shinto and Buddhism, and to clarify the boundaries between Shinto and Buddhism, and Shugendo was banned in 1891. Buddhism was allowed to continue with conditions, but many temples were destroyed. The number of Shugendo monks Yamabushi who lost their jobs to the Shugendo abolition order is said to be approximately 170,000. The Meiji era was a time when great forces were moving toward the creation of a new Japan as a modern nation-state capable of resisting invasions from Western powers. This is an era in which the greatest national interest is to break away from the backward cultural region of Asia and become an advanced, westernized country. Analyzing that the reason why the West was able to modernize ahead of the rest of the world was because of Christian values, so-called monotheistic values, The government at the time, in order to westernize equals modernize Japan like the great powers, we must build a strong nation based on monotheistic values. For this reason, in order to separate Shinto and Buddhism and dismiss Shugendo, a meaningless and worthless custom, they even issued a law called the Shugendo Abolition Ordinance in 1887. Shinto, a monotheistic religion, was a type of Shinto that was different in nature from traditional Shinto, called state Shinto, which enshrined the emperor as the head of state as a deity. Nationalism, the idea of a divine country, that Japan is a divine country, also gained strength, and a theory was formed that this led to worshipping the emperor and eliminating foreign enemies under the threat of actual foreign powers. National Shinto was created. The original tolerant Japanese values, the 8 million gods and Buddhas, were forcibly torn apart, and Shugendo, which is based on gods and Buddhas, was the greatest sacrifice. After World War II, the various schools of Shugendo each acquired the status of religious corporations and were revived as independent religions, which continues to this day.
Thank you for watching until the end. But we will be encouraged if you like and subscribe.